Hello and welcome to my training room. My name is Sifu Kyle Russell with Arkansas Wushu. Today we are going to be going over the 16 basics required to get a yellow belt in Shotokan karate. Let's go ahead and begin. The first stance you're going to learn is called a formal stance. To perform this stance, put your heels together with your toes spread apart, make a fist, and keep your back straight. This is the first stance you learn, as this is generally how you will bow in and out of your classes. Okay, so now you've learned formal stance. The next thing we need to learn is called an informal stance. From a formal stance, simply take a small step out to the right with leaving your legs shoulder width apart. This is how you will stand while you are waiting for your teacher to give you further instructions. Okay, so the next stance we're going to learn is one of the most important stances you can ever learn, and that is the horse stance. It's important because it's the foundation of almost all martial art. It is a basic in almost any style of martial art you want to learn. To do this stance, what we're going to do is put our legs about twice the length of our shoulders, bring our fists back onto our hips, and bend our knees. The more athletic and the more challenge you want, the further you're going to go down. If you have an injury or anything, you may want to come up a little bit to make the stance a little easier. You do eventually want to push yourself and try to get this stance down, as it will help increase your leg strength and your flexibility while building a foundation for good hip rotation. The next stance is called a forward stance. You have a left forward or a right forward stance. All that does is tell us which leg is going to be in front. So let's go ahead and start with a left forward stance. The best way to do this stance is to simply take a small step forward and out. Legs should be about shoulder width apart. Look down at your toes. Right now you can see your toes, but if you bend your knee far enough, you won't be able to see your toes looking down, and that's about the right bend that you want. From there, you want to go ahead and lift your legs. Both toes are faced mostly forward. This will be your first fighting stance. Let's go ahead and do a right forward stance. And just in case that's hard to see, we're going to go ahead and do a profile on that. So if we face my right, we're going to take a step forward with the right foot and bend the foot, bring the hands up. I want to do the exact same thing on the other side. So we look left, take a step forward, bend the leg till you can't see your toe, come up into fighting stance. And that is a left forward stance. Now for our final stance, which is going to be the back stance. This stance is going to be a little easier to demonstrate sideways, so that's how we're going to do that. To get into a back stance, make your feet into an L. Take just a small step forward and a small step out, and then bend your back leg until 70% of your weight is on your back leg. And keep your hands up in fighting position. Let's go ahead and do that on the other side. So you're going to make an L, step forward, step over, bend the back leg, and keep the hands up. And that is your back stance. So now we'll begin learning our punches. First punch we're going to learn is a straight punch. You can do it as a single punch, a double punch, or a triple punch. It's the same technique. The only thing that changes is the amount of times that you throw a punch. So to do this technique, let's go ahead and start in a horse stance and put your right hand out with your left hand at the hip. You're going to quickly switch places, making sure to stay on your center line. You do not want this hand to go out to the side as you lose power because your body is no longer behind the technique. So we have single punch, double punch, and triple punch. Our next technique is going to be the lunge punch. We're going to do this technique sideways. Makes it easier with the space. So let's go ahead and get into a right forward stance. Put the right hand out with the left hand on the hip. Center of the body, solar plex level. Whenever you get ready to throw this technique, make sure to slide this foot in an arc into the next stance. You don't want to take a step. That way you can't lose your balance or anything like that. go ahead and do this technique 3 times. 1, 2, 3. If you want to switch directions, just slide that back foot over, put your other hand out, and then you're ready to go the other way. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Our next technique is called a back fist. Let's go ahead and go into a horse stance. To do this technique, we're going to turn our head the direction we're punching. I like to start on my right side. Now, it doesn't make much sense to have your hand down here on your hip on this technique because there's just no way you would be able to guard someone on this side with this hand over here. So instead, we're going to bring this hand up to block the face. We're just going to bring the hand out and back to our chest. So back fist punch would be 1, 2, 3. Other side. 1, 2, 3. We want to learn to punch out of more stances than just horse stance, so we're going to use a forward stance. Now, whenever you're in a forward stance or any stance with one leg forward and the other leg back, you get what you call a forward punch or a reverse punch. Forward punch just meaning that you punch over the front leg. Reverse punch meaning that you hit over the back leg. In boxing, you might think of this as a jab and a cross or a 1-2. In Shotokan, it's reverse punch, forward punch. Just like before, doing your straight punches, you're going to either aim for the nose or the solar plexus. I like the solar plexus just because it's nice and low and level. And then just switch your hands quickly while keeping your shoulders forward. Alright, so we're going to use a double punch to cover both punches and do it on both sides. So I'm going to start in a left forward stance. We'll face this way. With the right hand out, we're on the back punch. We're going to do a double punch, which will be a forward punch, reverse punch. 1, 2, 3. Other side. This time I want to do a reverse punch and then a forward punch. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. For our next technique, we're going to learn a snap kick. For this kick, let's go ahead and get into a right forward stance with the hands up. This kick has 4 parts. Step 1 is to lift the knee. Step 2 is to extend the leg. Step 3 is to bring the leg back. And step 4 is to set it down. So if we switch sides, we do it on the count of 4. It'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. Depending on where you're kicking, it's going to change which part of your foot you hit with. For the growing, you're going to have the toe down. For the solar plexus, you're going to hit with the ball of the foot. And for the head, you're going to hit with the heel of your foot. So let's go ahead and do that 3 times on each side, just so you make sure you know how the technique works. 1, 2, 3. Switch sides. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you. Now we're going to learn the side snap kick. Side snap is obviously going to go to the side, so we're going to learn this from a horse stance. Let's go ahead and drop into horse stance. For a guard, I like to go ahead and keep this hand low and this hand high. That blocks the side of my body. Like the snap kick, this has 4 parts. Step 1, you're going to bring up. I like to keep my foot on the inside of my knee. That just helps keep your body line centered. It's a good balance point. Step 2 is extend out. You're going to hit with the nice edge of your foot. Step 3 is to bring it back. And step 4 is to set down. So we're going to go ahead and do this on a 4 count, twice on the right side and twice on the left, to help you know exactly how to do the technique. So we get into our guard, get into our horse stance. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Switch sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to learn the rear snap kick. So to do this, let's go ahead and get into horse stance. Look behind you. Bring this leg up to your knee. Kick behind you. Bring it back and set down. Make sure to look at your target before you kick. Same technique on the other side. Let's go ahead and do that kick 3 times on each side just to help you get it down. 1, 2, 3. Other side. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you. Now we're going to be learning roundhouse kick. I'm going to be learning this technique from a back stance. I'm going to start with my right leg back. I'll go ahead and demonstrate the technique. Alright, so the way this technique works, you get into your back stance, and this leg lifts up sideways. Whenever you turn, you're going to allow the front foot to pivot. This will allow your foot to go past your target to do more damage. You're going to want to hit with either the instep of your foot or your shin. Let's go ahead and do that on the other side. Alright, so let's do that on 3. Let's do that 3 times on each side to help you get the technique down. 1, 2, 3. Other side. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Now we're going to be learning our blocks. To do our blocks, we're going to start from an informal stance and step back into a forward stance. The difference being, instead of keeping our hands here the whole time, we'll be learning the different chambers for the different blocks. To start off, we'll be doing a downward block. For this block, you're going to bring your left hand up to your right ear and your right hand over to your waist on your left side. As you step back into a left forward stance, you're going to bring your left hand down and your right hand back, blocking just a couple of inches past the knee, keeping this arm straight and this hand tight on the hip. For the other side, just reverse your chamber, putting your right hand by the left ear and your left hand by the right hip, still stepping back, pulling one hand to the hip as the other hand goes over the front leg. In the beginning, we'll almost always block over the front leg until you get the basic technique down. So let's go ahead and do that block 3 times on each side. 1, 2, and 3. Other side. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you. Next, we have our outward block. For our outward block, we're going to use almost the same chamber we did in downward block. The difference is our bottom hand is going to be doing the blocking, and our right hand will be the one that comes back to the waist. So from the position I'm in now, I'm going to step back left into a right forward stance. Left hand comes back to the hip as the right hand comes up just a little bit past the shoulder. If you're having trouble with that motion, just think of picking something up and looking at it in your hand. It should end even with the shoulder. Switch sides. Again, you just do the chamber in the exact opposite way with your left hand on bottom and your right hand on top, stepping back right and blocking over the left leg. So let's do that 3 times on each side to help you get that technique down. 1, 2, and 3. Other side. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you. Now we're going to learn an inward block. Inward block has a different chamber. So for this one, we're going to put our left hand straight out as if we just threw a punch. We're going to bring our right hand up by our right ear. So we step back left. This front hand comes back to the hip. As this hand by your ear just swings around, blocking, you want to go just a little bit past your nose. On the other side, you just put the right hand out, the left hand by the ear, step back into a left forward stance as we bring our hands into position. So let's go ahead and work that technique 3 times on each side to help you learn the technique. 1, 2, and 3. Other side. 1, 2, and 3. Next, we have our outward block. For our outward block, we're going to use almost the same chamber we did in downward block. The difference is our bottom hand is going to be doing the blocking, and our right hand will be the one that comes back to the waist. So from the position I'm in now, I'm going to step back left into a right forward stance. Left hand comes back to the hip as the right hand comes up just a little bit past the shoulder. If you're having trouble with that motion, just think of picking something up and looking at it in your hand. It should end even with the shoulder. Switch sides. Again, you just do the chamber in the exact opposite way with your left hand on bottom and your right hand on top, stepping back right and blocking over the left leg. So let's do that 3 times on each side to help you get that technique down. 1, 2, and 3. Other side. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you. Alright, now you know all the 16 basics that you need to get a yellow belt in Shotokan karate. The next thing you're going to do is to start putting these together in your own combinations so that you get used to using them in a practical situation. For example, something as simple as downward block double punch would work at first. In that example, you would be blocking a kick and punching the person 2 times. Try to think of different fighting situations so that you can get used to using these techniques in a way that is effective in a self-defense situation. Again, my name is Sifu Kyle Russell from Arkansas Wushu. I hope you enjoyed our video. Thank you for watching.